What a game from the Portugal national team. It was an amazing match versus Germany. Portugal started losing, but then he came back and they got to win. But the most important for me in the match was the exhibition. I love the high press, high dedication that the Portuguese team showed. Perhaps the very first match that I've seen since Roberto Martinez is in the Portuguese team, where they had so much passion, so much intensity. There were certain moments where the high press of Portugal was working so well. It was so cool to see. I was doing a watch along here on the channel, and bro, I was super excited. The game was very good. Two great teams, by the way. I'm from Portugal, of course, but shout out to Germany. They played really well. But it was a great match in general. Germany a bit more patient with their ball, trying to be a bit more creative, especially on the first half. Portugal with more direct passes, being a bit carried by the speed and the explosive power of Pedro Neto. But especially in the first half, the high press of Portugal was playing really well for them. They were also very able to defend low and then go on the counter, like I said. But their high press was so good. I got impressed. Because I'm a Portuguese person, right? So I watch every single match of the Portuguese national team. And the only match that I really enjoyed for a real tournament watching was Portugal versus France from the Euros, from the latest Euros, where Portugal was able to go toe-to-toe with one of the strongest national teams in the world in Euros, where they struggled against Slovakia, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was Slovenia, where we went to penalties. And then even against Denmark in the most recent fixture before the Germany match versus Denmark. It was a horrible game in Copenhagen, and it was a alright game in Lisbon. So we never really saw that power, that golden generation being used. Today, they did it. They not only had quality, they had intention, they had will. And I wondered how much of that comes from the players or the manager itself. Roberto Martinez, is he a fraud or not? I have a video on the channel talking about it. And a lot of people have been speculating that he will leave. Even if Portugal wins the Nations League, Roberto Martinez will leave the manager job at Portugal. And this kind of seems like he wants to prove something. I don't know if he was the one making the changes. I don't know if he was the one asking for the players to do more, or if it was just the players, if it was just a good matchup between a more technical and slow building Germany, so it was easier to counter press. Maybe imagine if we play against France in the final, it will be way harder to apply that press because they play more directly and they have faster and technically better players, so it will be easier for them to ignore or just straight up break the press of Portugal. So it's interesting to see. I'm very excited to see the final. I'm very excited to see the semi-final, the other one, between Spain and France. We're also going to do a watch along here on the channel, so make sure to come check us live. Now, more about the game between Portugal and France. I really enjoyed the way Portugal played. I don't know if you already understood that, but I also really enjoyed Germany. For example, I really enjoyed Wolfstadt. Kimmich, of course. Wirtz was not playing very well, but got his goal. And I really enjoyed their starting midfield. Pavlovic with Goretzka was being very dynamic. The tactic was interesting, 3-4-3, but in general, I think it wasn't the right tactic to go against Portugal, or just the Portuguese team and their staff studied very well the German tactics, and they were just playing on the counter. Not counter as in defending low, but they were countering with certain positionings, with certain press zones. They were countering the German play, and that's why it worked so well. Because, for an example, the inclusion of João Neves as a right back was to kind of minimize the influence of the build-up of Germany through that side of the field. And a lot of times throughout the match, I watched the entire match, Germany would go all the way back to their keeper instead of launching the counter. But Germany still played well. They got their own goal. They were very scary in the start of the game, and of course in the start of the second half, where they got a beautiful goal, beautiful assist from Joshua Kimmich, beautiful header from Florian Wirtz, who thought We had a man with almost 2 meters on Vostfade, sorry if I'm mispronouncing, but you know, and it was Vergt, which is not that short as well, but he was the shorter one between those two strikers today that got the goal from a header. Then of course, Francisco Conceição from Portugal came in to break the game, and of course, everybody's already talking about it. Our father, our goat, the old camel, Cristiano Ronaldo, got his goal. Great play from Nuno Mendes. That player does not stop surprising me. I just love watching him play. He's fast, he's strong, he's intelligent, he knows how to have the ball. He loses the ball, either he runs back extremely quick or he starts fighting immediately. Readily you see him complaining after he loses the ball. He complains about other stuff, but when he loses the ball, he doesn't stay there complaining. He starts running immediately. Such a great example. Diogo Costa, of course, were a couple of saves in the start of the game. Ter Stegen from the German side, crazy double save in one attack for Portugal. Really, really crazy. Two great goalkeepers in the defense today. Portugal defense actually was very good. Gonçalo Inácio plus Ruben Dias, they did so well. They had no troubles building from the back. They had no troubles clearing the balls. Actually, the goal comes from Kimmich making like a arch. It wasn't like a cross, or it wasn't a penetration. He made like an arch. It was a really good play. And then it was a great finish for Vergt, of course. And then it was a bit confusing because of the offside situation between Ruben Dias and Wolfstad. So it was a bit confusing. Maybe it wasn't illegal. It's dubious, of course. The commentators, where I was watching the game, they kept saying that the referee was super wrong. Like, there is no way that's not an offside. The striker for Germany was completely blocking off the path of Ruben Dias. But the referee was a bit weak sometimes. For example, Florian Wirtz stepped on Bruno's ankle, on Bruno Fernandes' ankle, and it wasn't even a foul. It should be a yellow card, right? And there was like a couple of instances where it should be a corner for Portugal and it wasn't, or the ref made some mistakes, like he marked the foul where a Portuguese player heads the ball and the ball goes into the face of a German player. Then he goes back and he doesn't mark the foul, of course, he reverts it, but still, like, you see, he was kind of dubious, a dubious exhibition, of course, from the ref. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't like a criminal performance of the ref, but it was very dubious, you know what I'm saying? But we really have to highlight Francisco Conceição, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Nuno Mendes, in my opinion, in terms of actually creating, right, being more active in the game. It was Ronaldo, which actually he still dropped a little bit to receive the ball, which I don't like him to do that. I really don't like when he comes from his striker position into the midfield. He still did that, but not very often. And key understanding, key vision, Portugal had no offsides, 0, according to official statistics. And there is a joke in the Portuguese community that Ronaldo is always offside now, but even that changed, 0 offsides. And it wasn't because the Germany defense was bad. They were pretty good. They had then the wing backs helping defend as well. So it's not like they were bad. It's like Cristiano Ronaldo was just playing better, literally. You know what I'm saying? Also, there was not a lot of that Man City thing where you go forward and pass to the side. Bernardo Silva was a bit out of the game, but when he was needed to unclog the game, he did that. And he defended well as well. Of course, then Vitinha comes in, Ruben Neves goes out, and that's a completely different machine. It's a different type of material there. É outra loiça, like we say in Portugal. Also, the inclusion of Ruben Neves in the starting 11 will never make sense to me. Of course, maybe you need to physically manage Vitinha perhaps, but like Ruben Neves shouldn't be on the list of the Portugal national team. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Palhinha should start completely. I don't know, it's hard for me to justify. Let me know in the comments down below. Why do you think Ruben Neves keeps being called for the Portuguese squad? For me, it makes no sense. I was very happy too to see that Rafael Leão was not in the starting 11, because even the commentators from the TV that I was watching, they say when Ronaldo and Leão start together, Portugal they lose the press. And that was the defining factor of today's game, was the press. Super good press in the right parts of the pitch, fighting for lost possession, and Rafael Leão not only does not do that, he stays too close to the line, so there is no chance for the midfielder and the left fullback to penetrate from better positions, because it's very easy to be defended when you always in the same space and you don't make dynamic movement. Yes, Rafael Leão is very fast and he has skill, but on the international stage you play against the best players of a nation, so they are very good at doing a job if you make it easier. You know what I'm saying? So it's very hard on the international stage to play like Rafael Leão does. He needs to change his play style, be more aggressive, be more active, participate more in the construction, be more aware, or just he'll now will go from being kind of a Portuguese star to be the impact sub that comes in when the enemy team is tired, which was kind of what happened to Francisco Conceição, but he brought defensive bulk as well. He was agitating the waters. The German defense, especially Anton, was so tired, they couldn't handle him. Even Ta, towards the end of the game, couldn't handle Francisco Conceição. Trincão did well as well, a bit more on possession, a bit more holding the game. It wasn't anything special, it wasn't bad as well. But Conceição, he was on the line, coming forwards, then even without the coming inside, even without the ball coming inside, so Nelson Semedo can go on the left, can run on that side too, and it's just like Rafael Leão could learn a lot with Conceição, for sure. Also, Bruno Fernandes, magic, bro. Magic, like, dude is committed, he wants to play at a high level, he refused Saudi money, he just, bro, magic with consistency, with realism. I really like to see Bruno play. It's just so nice to see him play, bro. Not only makes good passes, he makes crosses, he makes runs, he makes 1-2s very efficiently, very smart. It was a great overall performance of the Portuguese team. Nobody was doing bad. Some players were doing okay, like Trincão, Pedro Neto, and Ruben Neves. I think they were a bit the worst side of Portugal, which is good. If they were the worst, that means that Portugal did really, really well. When it comes to Germany, even the commentators of the TV station I was watching, they were noticing the lack of will, the lack of desire. They were saying, this does not look like a Mannschaft. You know what I'm saying? Because it really didn't. It lacked that factor that Germany always used to bring, that factor of, like, even though they had injuries, which is true, I forgot to mention that, but they had a bunch of injuries. Germany had a bunch of injuries. Even though that happened, imagine if that happened back in the day. They would still be Mannschaft. They would still have that aura, which they didn't have today at all. They missed a lot of passes, by the way. They would go a lot back to the keeper, like I mentioned earlier, not punishing Portugal correctly, because they didn't play bad. They weren't trash. They missed that edge that Portugal showed today. And Portugal was actually kind of the other way around of Germany. They were coming down with Roberto Martinez, and today they just flipped the switch. You know, they were just like, I never seen, because look, Portugal won the Euros with Fernando Santos. We are super, as the Portuguese nation, super grateful to Fernando Santos, but we always criticize this playstyle. Back in the day, Portugal had a way worse team, but with even worse teams, when Paulo Bento, for an example, was a manager, we were playing well, really well, with wit, with desire, with confidence. And then that kind of stopped. And for a long time, Portugal had like great players in certain positions, but there was always lacking that edge. And finally today, we seen that. And I tell you not, I can't be more happy as a Portuguese football fan than now. Of course, we won the Euros and we won the Nations League in 2019, but this is not only a great achievement in the present, like I value the Nations League, I know some people don't, I value it a lot, because I think it's the most fresh measurement of how good the team is. The other tournaments are in 2 years, Euros and the World Cup. Nations League, it's always the present. You play 2 months ago, then now if a Portuguese now if a player of your nation is doing better, you can bring him in. It's not just in 4 years that you're gonna test the power of your team, but other than that, not only the victory and the performance of today makes me happy right now, this is a great sign for the future. If things keep going like this, feel me, Portugal with this great generation and the intensity and the desire, bro, we can win the World Cup. Of course, we still have France. I think, like, I don't want to diminish any other nations, but if Portugal plays like today, in terms of the intensity and the press and the will to win and the hunger, if Portugal keeps that until the World Cup, I think the only team that can really challenge Portugal is France, just because of their sheer quality. Yes, we have other great teams. It's still like in a year, so you can have great developments. Lamine Yamal can get better. Spain can get a bit more consolidated. Brazil can get on the right track with Ancelotti. Argentina is always a dangerous mess sometimes, but they're always dangerous. They always have that desire. England perhaps can get things going with Tuchel, but like today's a great day, not just because of the win, but how we won. I think that's the most important matter. How Portugal won, how Portugal did it, because it's not about what happened, it's about how it happened. Thank you for watching. I wish you the best. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I see you next time.